you do early on that kept you financially stable and now financially flourishing at this point in your life?
So what I did was find another passion.
The puppet. Let's get into what's really been simmering under the surface of the hip-hop world for way too long. Everybody knows Jay-Z and Diddy, legends, billion-dollar bosses, the faces of success. But behind all the flashy chains and VIP celebrations, there's a shady story that's starting to bubble back up. And guess who's coming forward with the heat? Vanilla Ice. Yeah, that Vanilla Ice. He's seen it all, and now he's breaking his silence with some wild claims.
Arsenio Hall show, at first I was a fan, you know.
What you gonna do?
And then I became definitely not a fan of the show, especially after I did the show.
In all fairness to my audience, when you talk about Vanilla Ice, I was mad at Vanilla Ice before the interview started.
Thank
you. You have been embroiled in a lot of controversy. The press has been really hard on you lately, saying that you lie about your background.
I mean, that's all old news. I didn't lie about it.
But I haven't interviewed you, so it's new news for my audience, so let's get into it.
I thought he was a little hard on me. He was venomous.
I've heard stories about me lying about where I came from and everything, and I never lied. Let me just tell you, when the record company creates all this stuff, bios around you, and, you know, they have your own publicists and everything, they create this image, okay? This image. And it's easy to hate on that image because it's a novelty act image, you know? I was kind of thrown into this new kids with snot category.
He's putting Jay-Z and Diddy in the spotlight, accusing them of being part of a system that didn't just launch young artists. It used them, tossed them aside, and left some seriously talented people in the dust. Ice says this goes way beyond bad record deals or contract drama. He's talking about something much darker, alleged manipulation that messed with people's lives and futures. Now we're diving into what Ice is really spilling. We're looking at the past, connecting the dots, and asking the hard questions nobody in the industry wants to answer. This ain't just gossip. It's about who's really calling the shots, who's getting stepped on, and what it really costs to climb to the top in the rap game.
My dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares. And I figured out the biggest value and purpose in life is that it has nothing to do with money or buying all these.
And let's talk about Vanilla Ice for a sec. Everyone figured he just dipped out of the spotlight after Ice Ice Baby, right? Like, had his 15 minutes and vanished. But according to him, that's not how it went down at all. He says he didn't fade away. He ran from something way deeper. Ice claims some top-level music execs were trying to pull him into some real shady stuff behind the curtain. And now, he's done staying quiet. This is where things get seriously creepy. Yeah, we're talking about those secret society-type rituals people whisper about in the shadows of the music industry. Vanilla Ice says it wasn't just rumor, it was real.
What happens is, in order for that artist to be in position to even mislead the people, they have to be worthy. This is hazing. This is the hazing aspect of it. In order to climb the ladder in the music industry, you have to be hazed. And when you're getting hazed, you're getting in your ass.
You say like basically
this homosexual ritual.
And when he was approached, he straight up said, "Nope, I'm not doing this." He turned his back on the glitz, the cash, the fame, but it wasn't like he just walked away and that was it. According to Ice, things started going real sideways after he said no. He's claiming strange, disturbing stuff began happening. Like someone or something didn't want him to just disappear quietly. So now everyone's asking, how did he dodge whatever trap might have taken down other artists? Was he really almost used up and thrown away by the same system that made him a star? Was the industry trying to sacrifice him in a way that sounds straight out of a movie? We're about to dig into exactly how Vanilla Ice escaped that dark web behind the music.
I was young, manipulated, and I was a puppet.
Walking away might have looked like the end of his career, but it might have actually saved his life. And you have to ask yourself, were big names like Diddy and Jay-Z somehow tangled up in all of this? These are two of the most powerful men in hip-hop, with influence that runs deep.
This is a quote that you said in one of your interviews. You said, at one point in my life, I didn't even know who I was, what my purpose was. I didn't want to live anymore. With hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, I didn't give a shit about life. Who I am today is a complete flip the script opposite of that. And just super grateful, man, for my family, for my kids. And that's the meaning of life, man. The true meaning of life.
100%. We can go around as a young person in this globe and see life in a different way. And then you know what happens is, I shook this whole globe up, you know, like a snow globe. I shook it up. And you think reality is what you see in front of you, and then the snow globe kind of settles a little bit, and then you find out that none of it was real. It was all artificial. It's all just entertainment world. It's all on how people view you, even you. And you find your purpose, you find out who you are. And I didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I know Justin Bieber could definitely use some advice.
Yeah.
Lost. Because with all the success, nobody that, especially with what happened to me, 10 times even bigger than Bieber, because, or anybody, because of being me and white and who I am. And at the time, it was something far more impactful, if that makes any sense, for people to hate on or take a punch at or anything, right? So it was a groundbreaking thing that really was, and probably could have killed me in many, many ways. Not just the Suge Knight way but way, to the point where all my dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares.
Could they have known about the darker parts of the machine they were rising through? Back in 1990, Vanilla Ice didn't just step into the rap game, he exploded onto the scene. Young, bold, and ready to take over, Ice Ice Baby wasn't just a chart topper, it was a moment. He was everywhere. Magazine covers, sold out tours, the whole deal. He had the kind of swagger and spark that made people believe he was going to run the game. But then, bam! Just as fast as he rose, he says he was hit with the real face of the industry. And it wasn't pretty. Vanilla Ice is pulling the curtain all the way back. And what he's saying? It's wild.
Proposed to me. I mean, things were going so crazy and fast, man. I was just like, what? I thought the guy was supposed to do that. What do you mean? Wait a minute. This is too fast. I'm just getting started here, and I'm way too young for this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was crazy. The more I think about it, the more crazy.
He claims that once he hit the top, the real power players came knocking. We're talking about the folks who control everything, the cash, the connections, the careers. And according to Ice, they weren't just offering business deals, they were trying to pull him into something way darker. He's talking about those secret rituals everyone whispers about, but no one dares to confirm. The so-called soul-selling stuff. The behind-the-scenes world that's been rumored for decades. Ice says it wasn't just rumors. He was right there, faced with the decision. Go along with these twisted games and give up who he was, or walk away and risk losing everything. Just picture it. You're young, famous, on top of the world, and then boom, you're hit with this creepy, life-changing choice.
Not what he says at all.
I had my bodyguards who had guns, and they had their people which had guns, and they had us outpowered and outnumbered.
Talking publicly about it for the first time, Van Winkle describes a terrifying night in his suite at a Beverly Hills hotel when he says Suge Knight showed up with 6 other men.
Roughed one of my bodyguards up. They roughed everybody else in my whole entourage.
And according to Ice, he chose not to play that game. He says the price to rise higher was just too steep, too weird, too wrong. He was standing on the edge of superstardom. But he wasn't willing to sell his soul to keep climbing. Now here's where it gets even heavier. Vanilla Ice claims that during this time, certain industry titans, Jay-Z and Diddy, started circling. These two aren't just rich, they're powerful. They know every angle, every backroom deal, every secret that keeps the music world spinning. Ice says they offered to mentor him, guide him, take him even higher. More fame, more money, more everything. Sounds like a dream, right? But Ice says he peeped the game early. He was watching how they moved. He noticed how other young artists around them started struggling. Careers cut short, visions getting twisted, personal lives breaking down. He even hints that some young boys got put in bad situations, messed up, exploitative ones. And instead of getting caught in that trap, he backed off. He says he didn't let the flash blind him.
I got stabbed 5 times, got my main artery right here in my leg. I almost died. You only have 8 pints of blood, I lost 4.
Damn.
And it was in my friend's seat for 3 months after. It still didn't even dry up. Like, he had the sponge seat, you know, underneath it, and it was in the seat when he took me to the hospital. My buddy Phil took me to the hospital. It was his fight. It wasn't even my fight. I didn't even know who this guy was. I was his passenger.
He trusted what he saw.
And he's in the front yard of some dude's house. And he goes up and the dude comes out in his trench coat. And Phil runs turns into the biggest in the world and runs. And I'm standing there and I'm like, what the that shit? The dude was coming at him and he turns around and ran. This is my big Phil, man, the big dude. And the guy came at me. He goes, you want some of this, mother? I go, I don't even know who you are. I don't know what this is, bro. What's going on? Your mother just standing there and he's yuck. Next thing I know, I turn around, I choke the dude. He's just a skinny dude, a little guy. And that's why I couldn't understand why Phil ran. I didn't see the knife. He ran because he had a knife. And Phil comes back after the dude's laughing. I beat the dude's. He saw me. Phil, 2 houses down in the front yard looking at me. I'm fighting this dude. Didn't even know he was stabbing me. And I'm choking him, and I choked him out. Did one of those old UFC moves. I put him on the ground. And I just choked him out. I'm punching him in the face. I beat his ass. Skinny little dude. He was easy to beat up. I let him go. He's out, and I get up, and he's still on the ground, and he's laughing at me. I'm like, why are you laughing, dude? I just beat your ass. And I go I'm exhausted. So I put my hands like this, and my hand slipped off. And I go, what the? I looked at it and it was blood everywhere, and you got my main artery here. It was just gushing out like some you see out of the movies where just an artery is main thing. It squirts out. And he got me in my ass cheek. He stabbed me across here. Got 47 stitches on my hand.
47 stitches.
From here, see it? Right here, all the way down to here.
And what he saw was enough to make him run the other way. Vanilla Ice says he started seeing the game for what it really was. A system built on control, manipulation, and stripping artists of their real selves. He watched as young stars with raw talent and fire got molded into something else entirely. Their individuality, gone. Their spark, snuffed out. And Ice, he wasn't about to let that happen to him. Even when that golden ticket was dangled in front of him, he made a bold decision. He walked. He wasn't trying to be someone's project or puppet. He didn't want to trade his freedom or creativity for fake fame, no matter how tempting the offer looked on paper. Ice trusted his gut and decided that keeping it real was worth more than any flashy lifestyle built on someone else's terms. He knew the risks. Turning away could have ended everything, but he didn't flinch. That was a real move. Not chasing clout, but standing on principle. And guess what? That raw honesty is exactly why a lot of fans still respect him today. One fan even wrote, walked away from the industry with his man card intact, respect and congrats. That kind of loyalty, you can't fake that. Now let's clear something up. Diddy and Jay-Z weren't the first ones to reach out. Ice says this story started way earlier.
I mean, I got scars. There's the artery right there, dog. Not to show you my untanned leg, I don't wear tight shorts and that's where the knife went in right there. And I'll spare you the details of my
Yeah, we don't need to.
There's the scar there. Scar stories, man.
The instant Ice Ice Baby blew up, it didn't just bring fame, it brought attention from the real power players, the ones pulling strings from the shadows. One name that kept popping up, Charles Koppelman, a major music executive with serious industry clout. And guess who he was tight with? Clive Davis, a music legend, and someone who mentored Diddy for years. The rumors started flying. People in the know claimed these execs didn't just see Vanilla Ice as a chart topper. They saw a tool, someone they could shape, control, and use. And slowly, the whispers grew louder, that he was being nudged toward those same strange, ritualistic paths that later became linked to Diddy and a few other big names.
How did black artists treat you?
Great. That's where I'm. Listen,
like Tupac or Biggie or those guys.
Oh, good friends of mine. I was friends with Tupac way before he even blew up. When
NWA,
he was the Digital Underground. NWA. I was the opening act. Listen, I was the opening act for the opening act for the opening act for the opener for the opener when we did the Stop the Violence tour with NWA, Stetsa Sonic, EPMD, Sir Mix-a-Lot. So I was that kid out there, and they were great friends. They embraced.
But Vanilla Ice wasn't some clueless rookie. He says he picked up on it early and he didn't fall for it. Vanilla Ice says he saw straight through the smoke and mirrors. He caught on fast, real fast. Before they could wrap their claws around him and drag him deeper into the machine, he made a sharp move. He vanished from the spotlight, Walked away from the fame, the press, the industry, everything. Just like that. 1 minute he was everywhere. The next, gone. One fan even said, "I remember back in the day, we were too cool for school for Vanilla Ice." But the irony is, he's the only real man with the actual balls to not sell out to the satanic music industry. Wow, that's a real man right there with real talent. That kind of respect doesn't come easy. It's earned. But don't get it twisted. Walking away wasn't smooth or safe. Ice says it got real scary at times. He feared for his life, like actually thought he might not make it out. Turning your back on that kind of power? It doesn't come without a cost. Ice didn't just walk away from fame. He walked into a fight to survive, navigating a world where crossing the wrong people could have dangerous consequences. His rise was lightning fast. 1 second he was just a local kid spitting rhymes in Texas. The next he was an international superstar. The machine turned on and it was all gas, no brakes. He had people managing everything, his music, his look, his moves. It was like being inside a pressure cooker with no way out. And it wasn't just business stuff getting twisted. Even personal decisions got caught in the grip. Ice says the pressure went so deep that even something like marriage started to feel fake. Like it wasn't really about love. It was just another PR play. He watched how relationships were built and broken, all for headlines. Nothing felt real. He was terrified of dragging someone he cared about into that world, of exposing them to that madness, the cameras, the scripts, the control. The industry didn't just control his public image. It reached right into his private life. It made him question every connection, every emotion, every person around him. That's how deep the grip was. At the peak of his fame, when Ice Ice Baby was blowing up the charts and Vanilla Ice was everywhere, he made a move that stunned the whole music industry. He turned down mentorship from 3 of the most powerful names in the game, Diddy, Clive Davis, and Jay-Z. Yeah, those guys. Just let that sink in. These weren't regular record execs. These were the gatekeepers of superstardom. They had the influence to make you a legend overnight or bury your career with a phone call. And Ice, he told them, "Thanks, but I'm good." That kind of refusal, almost unheard of in the business. Now picture their reaction. These are men used to having artists chase their approval, begging for a seat at the table.
Tupac and I are good friends.
Yes.
Good dude. Gave me some of my greatest advice because he saw me going through hell with all the hatred and all the stood up for me and said straight up, "Ice, you're dope." He goes, "I want you to know you're one of the great ones. You're dope. You're going to leave your mark, your legacy." And this is before it happened. He knew it. This guy had a crystal ball.
So when Ice passed on their so-called guidance, word is they were fuming. Their pride took a serious hit, and they didn't take it lightly. In a world where egos rule and loyalty is currency, that kind of move isn't just rejection. It's a threat. And in the music biz, threats don't go unpunished. According to insiders, what came next was no coincidence. The story goes they launched a quiet takedown, a behind-the-scenes effort to cut off his momentum. No dramatic beef, no public war, just subtle moves, slick plays, the kind of sabotage that you feel before you even realize it's happening. Their main tactic? Hit him where it hurt, in the heart of the hip-hop world. They allegedly started whispering through the grapevine, planting doubts about his authenticity. He's not real hip-hop. He's a pop product. Just another industry plant. That kind of talk spreads fast, and it stings even faster. Suddenly, Ice wasn't being embraced by the culture. He was being shut out of it. He got boxed into that new kid with no stripes category. His credibility was constantly under attack. Fans started turning cold. Artists kept their distance. It became harder and harder for him to get respect, let alone collaborations or long-term support. It was like they pulled the rug right out from under him. Step by step, they dismantled his standing, making sure he couldn't build anything solid in the hip-hop world ever again. They wanted to send a message, loud and clear. You don't go against the power structure and just walk away untouched. But Vanilla Ice? He wasn't scared. He didn't bow down, didn't beg, and definitely didn't let their games break him. He wasn't chasing fame through back doors or cozying up to industry titans like Jay-Z or Diddy. Ice made it crystal clear. He wanted to earn it, not have it handed to him. Instead of chasing clout, he dove headfirst into what he loved, the street dance scene. We're talking full-on obsession with the 80s dance culture, pulling moves straight out of classics like Breakin' in Beat Street. While most folks were sleeping, Ice was grinding. He'd watch those dance scenes on repeat. Broom tricks, fishing line illusions, the robot, and then flipped them into his own signature style. He said, "I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I'd stay up and mimic the moves from Breakin' in Beat Street." That hustle was real. He didn't stop there. He formed his own crew and started performing anywhere he could get a crowd. Malls, sidewalks, wherever there were people, Ice was there breakdancing, beatboxing, freestyling for dollars. As he told GQ in 2013, "I used to spin on my head at the mall and make $40 a day. It was more than my rich friends got for allowance." That's hustle. That's heart. And his path wasn't easy, not even close. He dropped out of high school, never met his real dad. His mom went through marriage after marriage, and money was always tight. He grew up bouncing between cheap jobs and unstable situations. Still, he kept grinding, determined to turn all that struggle into something real. Ice said he was the only white kid trying to earn respect in a mostly black scene. And he knew he had to go twice as hard to prove he belonged. And when the industry drama kicked in, when whispers started flying about Jay-Z and Diddy allegedly trying to sabotage his rise, he didn't blink. He wasn't worried about their power plays or dirty tricks. Ice had tunnel vision. All he cared about was proving he deserved a spot, not because someone handed it to him, but because he earned it. And for a moment, he was finally starting to taste the payoff. Vanilla Ice nearly lost his life, bleeding out so badly he dropped around 4 pints of blood. He spent days in the hospital, clinging to life, while doctors scrambled to save him. No official ties were ever confirmed between the attack and any big names in the music industry. But the timing, the severity, way too suspicious to ignore. People started whispering, was this really just a random act of violence or something way more calculated? What really seemed to rattle certain industry heavyweights was Ice's unexpected bond with none other than Tupac Shakur. That friendship, it crossed lines the industry wasn't ready for. Back then, unspoken rules kept certain artists apart, especially across racial and cultural lines. But Tupac, he saw something real in Ice when others refused to. Their bond kept growing, no matter how many side eyes it sparked in the background. This alliance especially rubbed Suge Knight and the top dogs at Death Row the wrong way. Tupac was their golden boy. Seeing a white rapper they used to mock now tight with Tupac, that didn't just bruise egos, it flipped the script. Ice went from industry joke to someone Tupac respected, and that messed with the power structure. For them, it looked like another rebellious move from Ice, who kept dodging their control and writing his own rules. Tupac's cosign was a major threat. It gave Ice a kind of street credibility those industry bosses had worked hard to strip away. And once they realized how close he was getting to one of the most respected voices in hip-hop, that's when things got serious. Now that hospital stabbing wasn't the only hit he faced. One of the wildest and most infamous moments in hip-hop history involved Vanilla Ice and Death Row Records co-founder Suge Knight. It all went down in 1990 when Mario "Chocolate" Johnson, a songwriter under Suge's management, claimed he helped write some of Ice's biggest tracks, including the legendary Ice Ice Baby. When Johnson brought the issue to Suge Knight, what followed was a showdown that became the stuff of music industry legend. The confrontation happened inside Vanilla Ice's suite at a Beverly Hills hotel. Suge didn't come alone. He rolled up with 6 other men. Now here's the thing. Ice denies the famous balcony story, where he supposedly got dangled by his ankles over the edge. But even he admits, the moment was terrifying. Real threats, real pressure, and real danger. He wasn't just fighting for his rights, he was fighting to stay alive. I had my bodyguards and they had guns, but they had more people and more guns, Vanilla Ice recalled. The vibe was tense, dangerous. Suge Knight's crew didn't come to talk. They came to make a point. Ice says his team got roughed up, shaken down, and completely overpowered. The pressure was so intense, he ended up signing over 25% of his royalties on the spot. Just like that. But years later, a different story started surfacing. People close to the situation began spilling the tea, and it wasn't just about music credits or unpaid royalties. According to these insiders, the whole Mario Chocolate Johnson wrote Ice Ice Baby angle, just a cover, a smokescreen. The real reason for that hotel confrontation ran way deeper. Sources claim that Suge Knight didn't act alone that night. He was allegedly sent by powerful figures in the music biz. The real motive? To check Vanilla Ice, to remind him what happens when you keep winning outside the system. See, Ice had turned down deal after deal from some of the most influential moguls in the game. Diddy, Jay-Z, Clive Davis, they all wanted a piece. But Ice kept saying no and doing his own thing. That kind of independence, it rubbed the power players the wrong way. Real wrong. They weren't used to artists rejecting their offers, especially not ones who were still thriving without them. Ice had stepped out of line, and that hotel confrontation, it wasn't about paperwork, it was about control. It was a warning. This is what happens when you don't play by our rules. So while the public was told it was a simple royalty dispute, insiders say it was really a power move. A quiet hit job to scare not just Ice, but every other artist watching. A lesson in loyalty, a reminder of who really runs things. And guess what? Even after Ice gave up those royalties, the pressure didn't stop. The hate didn't fade. That's because, according to this version of events, the goal was never just money. It was about dominance. The fact that he kept pushing forward without them. That was the real problem. And for that, they weren't about to let him off easy. This was never about the money. It was about power, about control, about making sure no one else dared to follow Vanilla Ice's rebellious, independent path. The message was loud. Stay in line or pay the price. But here's the twist, the real irony. Time told a different story. That night, Suge Knight tried to intimidate Ice into submission. But fast forward, and their lives went in completely opposite directions. Vanilla Ice didn't just survive, he thrived. He left the drama behind and flipped the script. He reinvented himself as a real estate boss, stacking wins outside the spotlight. Quiet money, real business, no scandals, no chaos. Meanwhile, Suge Knight's empire crumbled. He's now locked up serving a brutal 28-year prison sentence with no chance of parole until 2034. He'll be 69 before he even gets a shot at freedom. And that's not all. As of right now, Diddy's also behind bars. If convicted, he could be looking at life in prison on serious racketeering charges. And he's already facing a mandatory 15-year sentence for other charges stacked against him. So who really came out on top? Vanilla Ice proved that real power comes from staying true to yourself and knowing when to walk away. He didn't need to play dirty. He didn't need to beg for approval. He took the harder road, and it paid off. In the end, his ability to pivot and build outside the industry turned out to be more valuable than any fake loyalty or fame ever could be. So now we want to hear from you. What's your take on all this? Was Vanilla Ice ahead of his time, or just lucky to escape? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash that bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. I've got more shocking celebrity stories dropping every single day. Share this with a friend, and I'll catch you in the next one.